that we think would go towards the most negative, I don't know, I'm not wording that well, but pursue like the most negative lifestyle after they age out, or would probably end up on the street if something else didn't intervene first. And so potentially if they're already in the habit of doing drugs or something like that, just really paying attention to those factors. And like the issue there becomes, do they really want to take a part in this mentoring program? And that's why I also added that the parents, like the foster parents, can refer their children to the program if they feel that that's really something that they need. So does that answer your question? Okay.
Yeah, I wonder, would you have like a systematic process of doing that? Like, you know, I was reading your rationale about how you'd approach that, and I'd imagine you would have potentially hundreds of, you know, applicants or whatever.
Yeah.
Do you have a systematic process other than just sitting down and reading through all that stuff, how you would go about actually determining right there who's kind of top priority?
Yeah, I haven't come up with a process yet, definitely, but I would make that something that the ministry director and the assistant ministry director would work together on, because that really is their job, and I explain more in the rationale paper in regards to like what the different responsibilities are of each staff member. I talked about it briefly, but not all of it. And so I think that that's something they really work together on. I think prayer would play a big part in that, and just praying over and thinking of who needs this the most desperately. So I don't think I've really come up with a formal process for that yet, but there are definitely, those are a few pieces that I would include in that.
Thanks.
I thought you were very thorough, for sure.
Thank you.
And your paper was well done. Well done.
Thank you.
Can you say your mission statement to me without looking at your paper?
I think just because I'm nervous I can't, but I know it's a little lengthy.
Give me your mission in 10 words or less.
Okay. Empowering foster care adolescents through mentorship
Okay.
and life skills. There we go. Cool.
Okay. I was just trying to make a point about your mission statement.
Okay.
I hope you got it.
Yeah, I did. I had a hard time. I tried to dwindle it down a little bit. It tended to be wordy.
Just a basic question. I might have just missed this entire thing, but it's a mentorship program.
Yes.
So you're doing this in churches, do you have your facility and they're coming to you?
It's partnership with a church. So there's like it's a placement agency through a church already, and so this is kind of a branch of that placement agency and something that will just kind of add to it.
Was that in the paper? Did I miss that?
Yeah, it's in the paper for city,
All right.
city church.
That helps. That's
Okay.
okay. That helps me develop a question in a minute.
I've got a question. I'm a little, there's a lot going on here.
There is, yes.
You've got a lot happening here, so I need you to help me simplify it a
Okay.
little bit.
Yeah.
I'd like you to walk me through the process of a student. You've got a teenager.
Okay.
How does that person, walk me through the process of them starting this ministry, what they're going to do with the ministry,
Okay.
and then the outcome of the ministry.
Got it.
Yeah, so walk me through kind of that timeline or something
Okay.
along that.
Yeah, I considered actually making a timeline. I tried to lay it out on paper, and I thought it actually made it look more confusing, so I think explaining it will be better. But basically, the student is reached out to through city ministry, so if they're in a foster home and they're within the age that they're supposed to be for this ministry, which is 16 and 17 starting out, because that's closest to them aging out. So they're reached out to. If they decide that they would like to take part, then they will reach back out to the ministry and apply. Otherwise, families can also refer their children to the ministry if they feel that that's something that they need. And so what will happen is that'll be during 6 months, and then 6 months later there will be time, like during that 6 months, it's explained in the rationale paper again, but during those 6 months there will be time for the mentors to start to get to know one another and kind of start initiating this, like getting to know the ministry a little bit, and they'll have this training piece, and then after those, that's a year long, so after that year, that's when that mentorship will actually begin. And so it'll start with these weekly one-on-ones, which will happen. Something else I didn't have time to mention, I wish I had, but there will be hangouts, so between the mentor and the mentee, just spending time together, going to an activity. So just, that's kind of the incarnational piece, getting to know like whatever that student enjoys, like whether it be playing basketball or playing a different sport or something, just kind of spending that time with them, even if it's not conversation-based. And so that will be it, and then life skills training sessions, which will be a weekly thing also for just the mentees to participate in, and that will be where they are learning how to do these different things, such as resume writing and different job skills training, things they need, I don't know, interview skills, I guess, different things like that. And then at the same time, there will really be the piece of like having the whole ministry, everybody that's participating, getting to know one another also and being that support system. And so there'll be like the hangouts with that, and different things involved there. And so it's kind of a brief summary. I know it's a lot, but I felt like a ministry of this type really needed to be kind of extensive, and it was really important to have that community piece in there and to have the individual piece as well, obviously. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, that helps me a ton.
Okay,
To be able
cool.
to walk through some of that.
Yeah,
And I would encourage you, generally when you're talking about a ministry and developing a strategy, you want to keep it simpler.
yeah,
Because otherwise it just becomes unwieldy and unworkable.
got it, okay,
And so, and in general, just trying to bring people into that vision,
yeah,
helping them to, even just to put the implementation in the vision, you know, complexity is kind of the enemy in some of that.
exactly,
So,
yeah,
yeah, so you see all those things, some of that stuff may still happen, but, you know, trying to communicate it would be helpful.
Definitely.
So, but that helps me a lot, especially seeing that piece where there's that kind of relational, activity-based piece. Because
Yeah.
I'm not sure I can mentor somebody without that.
mhm,
I can't sit across a table and do this with the teenagers all the time. You gotta have other things going on.
yeah,
So,
definitely. Thank you.
This was sort of a follow-up to Dave. I'm making sure I say your name right. Mr. Dave, I'm sorry. I just met Dave. Bishop Dave, yes, he got knighted right before we got started. My follow-up is, okay, just using his number, he said 300 people apply or whatever.
Okay.
I'm wondering, Jamie, is greatest need the only criteria that you're using to evaluate who you're going to choose as a mentee?
Right now it is, because I didn't really give more thought to it than that. I just kind of saw that as being the priority at this point, and really helping those students that I think would go to really bad places if they didn't have the intervention of this program.
Off the top of your head, can you think of anything else that you might go, this might be something else to factor in other than greatest need?
I feel like under greatest need, there are different like subcategories I'm thinking in my mind. So maybe even, and this kind of plays into the greatest need, but like the family situation. What kind of situation did they come from that resulted in them being in foster care, and then maybe potentially pairing them with a mentor who's been through something similar and has really recovered from that. And so that's another thought, and that's kind of under the subcategory, I think, or under the greatest need idea.
So a match with another mentor could be, this could be
Potentially, yeah. And that was kind of something that I thought would be cool, is to really pair them with someone who has, especially something I talk about in my vision a little bit that I didn't get to talk to as much here, is about having mentees that have participated in the program down the road come back as mentors. And so kind of just tying them together so they have those similarities, I think that would really increase the relationship, and it would just make a better mentoring relationship. So I hope that answers your question. Thank you.
Good job.
And I'm going to ask a similar question.
Okay.
And this is just a suggestion in the way of thinking, for a brand new ministry that's going to start small, why the greatest need? Why not start with a group that has a good chance of success?
Okay.
Especially if you're going to recruit them to be mentors later.
Yeah.
The stat that stood out to me the most that I didn't really hear a lot in your paper was the college issue, and how few of them go on to college and get a degree, which obviously impacts their employment and housing opportunities and things. So why focus on the greatest need, and what would that change in your program if you focused on the ones who seem to have more opportunity, more potential, especially starting up?
Okay. I think for me, the reason I was looking at it as serving the greatest need is because that my heart is really with this, and I really, especially looking at those statistics, like wanting to make an impact on those statistics, even if it would be very small. But so that's kind of why I went there. Rather, I really didn't think about that point though, and that's a really interesting point. As far as how it would change if it was not addressing as strong of a need, that's a tough one. Sorry. No, it's okay. I don't know if training would need to be as extensive for the mentors, and I don't know if it would be as necessary for the mentors in the program to potentially have a foster care experience of their own. Could just be, and like one thing I do talk about is I want college students potentially to be mentors. So I think students from all different backgrounds, it'd make a little more sense having them as mentors if that were the case. But yeah, that's a piece that I would definitely consider developing because that's really an interesting thought.
So again, starting out, if you're trying to recruit mentors for a brand new program, maybe being able to cast a wider net might help.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and that's definitely something I will take into consideration. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Good job.
Thank you.
Exciting. In just unpacking that idea of who you're going to select, one thing that popped in my mind is picking mentees that are receptive to change. Because you can have somebody that's very wounded, but they are resistant to any kind of input.
Exactly.
So,
For
unpacking that. But what I was wondering is you use the phrase, you went through it, where is it? You talked about positive future. What does that mean?
I really see that as one of the mentees going through the program being able to support themselves financially, really growing in their relationship with Christ, whether they had a relationship already or not, even if that was just initiated. I talk about, at the very end of my vision, I'm going to find it, give me 1 second. Kind of like the holistic thing that actually Christina talked about a little bit, but thriving spiritually, financially, physically, mentally, and emotionally. And so kind of trying to see, I think, like determining how they are mentally and emotionally can be kind of seen like where they are at in life after this program. So if they have housing, if they have a steady job, different things like what their friend group is like, I guess, different things like that, their relationships. And so that's kind of how I think I would determine. It's kind of a hard concept to evaluate other than just really seeing this person in their context and kind of like feeling it out and seeing like, okay, do they seem like they're healthier now than they were when they first started the program? So does that answer?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Jen, we really saw some of your strengths in your paper and your
Thank you.
presentation. You're very thorough, you're detailed, you're that kind of person y'all need that gets the nuts and bolts.
Thank you.
And you can see it and put it together. So we appreciate that. And I really thought your focus on life skill training, and I even wrote what Debbie just said, to pursue positive futures was a strength of the program. So there's a lot that you want them to do.
Yeah.
Let me hear your heart on what you want them to believe about themselves.
Okay.
So you're really providing a lot of great life skill stuff. Okay, finding a job and doing this and doing that. What do you want them to know about who they are and the world that they're going to transition into?
Okay. I really think it comes down to the issue of like personal value and personal worth, and just reminding them, because a lot of them have been through these things, and whether they express or not, I'm sure that they, in a sense, feel very worthless, especially in my research, learning about that a lot of children blame themselves for being in foster care and blame themselves for these things happening, which could really lead to a lot of shame and a lot of guilt over that. And so through the relationship that they have with their mentor, which is really the relational piece, and really like focus on this kind of thing that you're talking about, just helping them to understand that their worth is not determined by what they have been through, and with that, but is really determined by their value in just being a child of God, and really kind of teaching them more about that. And it's definitely not an easy one to kind of shift their mental focus, but I think even just having that relationship where they see that they have an adult that cares about them and wants to impact their lives, like life that will help them to kind of see their worth in that way, even just having that. So I hope that that answers your question a little bit.
Yeah, it does. And being a detail girl myself, just one detail girl to another, I'd like to say,